Hello, everybody. Lovely to see some introductions going on in the chat. I'll just wait for Dylan to join me in a moment.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi. Your video is not loading for me, which I am unsure if it's a me thing or a you thing.
Interesting. I think I see you all right, so it's looking good.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's get started. Thank you for joining me today, Dylan, and thank you to everyone that has attended. I think we actually have a really cool range of people online from all over the world. So really excited to get started today and introduce everybody to Coviu and Glint and tell them all about the integration. A couple of housekeeping things just really quickly to begin with. This is a webinar where the participants will be kept on mute, although you are able to request to be unmuted to ask a question. So particularly during the Q&A as part of the session, really obviously interested in keeping it as interactive as possible. So please feel free to use that. And then with the chat feature, which some of you are already familiar with, which is awesome, please feel free to pop in questions as we go, and we can either hold them to the end or answer them in the moment, depending on what makes the most sense. Cool. So today, I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet and get to the point. We'll start off with a bit of an introduction to Coviu, given many of you online today are new to Coviu. And then we'll also pass to Dylan for an introduction to Ner Chat and their flagship product, Glint. And then we're going to talk to you just a little bit about the benefits of the integration between between the two platforms and how that came about. And then dive straight into the interesting bit, the product demonstration. You can see how it all works in action. And then we can touch on really briefly pricing and next steps. So if you're interested in exploring on either side, you'll know exactly how to go about learning more. And then we'll move to some Q&A. So again, really encourage you to use that chat feature either as we go or saving questions until the end. So we'll start with a really quick introduction to Coviu. I'm Sarah Lindop. I'm the head of growth at Coviu. I've been with the organization for just over a year now, which has been an awesome learning experience for me. We spun out of the CSIRO about 10 years ago, which is a large research institute in Australia. So it started over in Sydney. And essentially that was sort of pre-COVID. So the idea of telehealth, teletherapy was very sort of preliminary, as you can imagine. And then during all of that remote healthcare, remote therapy that was going on during the pandemic really skyrocketed our growth. We got a huge amount of awesome exposure to a wide range of specialties. And that's sort of what prompted our expansion into the US, which is where many of you are joining us from today. In the US, we've definitely been sort of more in the teletherapy space, specifically school psychology and speech language pathology. And today, while globally we have all sorts of different healthcare organizations, from hospital initiatives to private practice to solo providers in the US, we definitely have seemed to sort of play more in that staffing agency space, although there are loads of different applications for the program. Some of the things that I think particularly make us unique are we really invest in the workflows around the delivery of virtual care as a telehealth and teletherapy platform. So different to your sort of generic video conferencing tools, we offer a lot of integrated therapy and clinical tools, Glint now being one of them, as we'll explore more in this session. And we also have the option to digitally administer Pearson assessments through our partnership with Pearson Clinical. So a lot of speech language pathology assessments, psychology assessments integrated into the platform, specifically enabling virtual delivery of those assessments in a way that's best practice and super seamless. So in the interest of keeping it brief, I'll hold up there and pass over to you, Dylan.
Thank you, Sarah. So hey everyone, I'm Dylan. I'm one of the founders of Glint by Ner Chat, and yeah, I've had the pleasure to know Sarah and the Coviu team for but I think maybe approaching a year or maybe a little over a year at this point. Unsure, but it's been such a great experience. And a bit about what we do, Ner Chat, we are all about making visuals fast, easy, and accessible, really trying to improve learning and speech outcomes for all of our individuals who work with us. So we are a provider-facing platform that makes anyone a visuals expert. So creating things from social stories to grids to schedules. These are visuals that typically get used in speech pathology, special education, really by the care support network, who are looking to give the individuals and our loved ones more independence and autonomy. So also in the interest of keeping it brief, what we do is create this platform, which we're about to have a really fun time and jump into with everyone all together, which manifests in these outcomes of in boosting engagement in therapy sessions, carryover at home, also just with parents, and also for just doing a lot of daily acts of living as well. So we are built for therapists, for specialists and educators, a lot of these providers who interface across the board. And I think we can move to the next slide.
Awesome. So you mentioned that we were introduced to each other around a year ago, and that was by Jen, who is the clinical lead on the SLP side at a large staffing agency customer of ours. What do you think it was that initially prompted her to come to us and be like, guys, you have to integrate with Dylan and the team and Lint? Like, what are the core benefits of what you guys are doing and how that integrates in Coviu, would you say?
Yeah, just thinking back to that original conversation, we were on Coviu actually. Jen, who has such a deep background in speech pathology, we were showing ideas. Like I was showing her our platform. She was explaining how she does her work over telehealth. And she said, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be so unbelievable if we could have this appear in our telehealth platform? Because often the individuals they work with, the clients, they might not be so engaged when working with visuals, or specifically if we're dealing with somebody who may be non-speaking, we want them to be able to have a lot of that interactive support and just really transcend through this digital barrier. So she said, if we could do such a thing, I think it would be game changing. So that's how we got introduced.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to Jen last week, and at the risk of sounding a bit overboard, it genuinely does sound like it's been game changing. Like for them, and they offer a lot of virtual only services. That's where they use Coviu. Due to staff shortages, they have more and more districts engaging with them, wanting, interested in virtual therapy services, and that part of their business has really grown. And they're having the ease of use, not needing sort of aides to sit there and help program or set things up. But it sounds like as well the affordability, which we can sort of get into later in the webinar, has just been a game changer for their students, their providers, really their families, everyone in the mix, which was just so exciting to hear. So Dylan, we have, I think, a number of people on the call from Australia, from the US, different types of organizations. What sort of organizations would you say sort of most benefit from these guys? We just mentioned the school staffing agencies. I know you work with school districts directly. Is there any sort of other area that you think would really benefit from Glint and the integration with Coviu?
Yeah, I really believe that the applications are so far-ranging. It's like you said, we've been primarily selling into school districts, selling into therapy organizations, staffing agencies. But what we've seen, and I think speaks to the nature of how wonderful it is of this partnership, is that we've had such an array of people come to us from so many different types of places. English language learning professionals, even healthcare organizations. It's just been varied so much. So while we were in the process of kind of expanding this general application of visuals to provide more independence and autonomy is so farly transferable.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, again, with the integration itself, every time we're working in these settings, you've got you've got children, you've got special needs, like every second that you can sort of save or keep engagement by having different programs or resources working together. Like, I think that's why we were so interested in doing this, because as a provider, you really do need everything to run seamlessly. Like, we know that if there are little points of friction in the session, it can really affect your ability to provide therapy and maintain engagement. So I think for us, that's why we were really interested in making this work, because again, all of those little things make a huge difference. Okay, well, maybe we should get into it. I'm going to hand over the screen share to you, and you're going to show how this all works. We'll cut the suspense. Oh, I can see you now. I'm so sorry. That was so distracting.
Lost a second. Okay, awesome. So I'll take over the screen share and let me know.
Awesome. And again, for everyone, if you do have any questions, the chat is there. We can answer as we go or hold to the end.
Okay. And this is going to be the fun part, because if anyone knows me or has seen a demo before, you'll know I don't just want people to stare. I want people to actually get involved and be active. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. And let me know, is this screen sharing working for you?
You're sharing the slide deck, but it is sharing something. It's not sharing Coviu.
One moment, please. How about now?
Yes, that's awesome.
Aha, perfect. So this is where we need to be. Now you get to see my real background. But welcome to Coviu. So this is the platform that our users are typically logging into. While Glint is a standalone product in itself, we're going to be specifically highlighting what's so special about this telehealth and teletherapy integration. So at the core of everything we do is, like Sarah mentioned before, it's simplicity. It's making this super easy and simple for everyone on all ends. So while Glint is really designed for that in-person use of the visuals, we've done so much with Coviu to make this so seamless and as if you're in person with the individual you're working with. So how does it work? It's as easy as just clicking on apps and tools, clicking on the Ner Chat application. And the way this typically gets used is we have an array of different individuals, like could be who you're working with. So I'll actually just go ahead and choose someone today. It'll be Tony Stark will be who I go for to choose. And we'll kind of be able to look, how does Glint work on Coviu? So pretty much Glint creates all these types of visuals here that we'll be diving into, starting with simple grids and ranging in some of these amazing things that we're about to take a look at. So things that we typically make with Glint are simple grids, our social stories, task analyses, daily schedules, checklists, WH questions, minimal pairs, sentence strips, first then boards, recipes. So what's really amazing about this is the sheer volume. These are some of the most highest yield speech pathology, special ed templates that you might see out there. And what really goes to this idea of simplicity is we want to be able to meet our learners where they are today. And that starts with just a really simple application. So if we went into the simple grid and we said, hey, we would like a 3x3 grid about coffee shop. All we have to do is ask for the grid. Glint does the rest of the heavy lifting for us. It thinks about words we may want to utilize for this topic that we put in, which was a coffee shop. And what's so unique about this is we do provide these instant visual supports, but if you're on the other end of my telehealth situation, any click that I engage in has a couple of really interesting factors. It has the number one voice output, which is funny enough, Sarah and I tested earlier. It didn't work on the platform, but we'll have an opportunity for everyone to understand and see that in a second. We find that research shows when you combine the text, the image, and the voice output, this is what leads to this more independence and autonomy for our learners. Whatever I click and interact with, the other individual has an exact replica, an exact mirror. So they're able to see my button presses and hear my button presses when I'm clicking on it. And to really make it as if we're together in person, I can enable what's called modeling mode, which can say, hey, we're focusing on this, or we're focusing on this. And we can very clearly work as if we're in person. So this is so, so important when we're trying to really focus on specific topics. So a couple of things to know about Glint is that anything you create is extremely editable. So we can go ahead and change and sort through our image library. We can get even real images in real time. This looks like a tasty coffee, so I'll choose that. We have a ton of really amazing accessibility features as well that come as part of this. So we can actually take a look at some of them, like the different font sizes, the audio, and also skin tones. So that's kind of just like in a nutshell, how you use Glint. But the real amazing thing is how shareable this is. So we just spoke about this two-way mirror function, but something that's going to get everyone involved here is the shareability. So with what you create, if you're doing a session with an individual, you have the opportunity to not only distribute this in a physical way, but actually distribute this digitally. So you can send a link or a QR code. So now this is the time where everyone can get involved. If you go ahead and scan this QR code that I just generated right now, you can actually have access to this exact visual on your personal device. And remember I had said about the speaking, you'll be able right now to hear that voice output. So you'll get my coffee cart board and you'll be able to take advantage. So this is really important when it comes to carryover outside of just a therapy or a healthcare session that you're doing. It's giving the individuals we work with the tools to meet them where they are today. So I know we just spoke about kind of using this as the grid function, but to make this make more sense, we'll do something more fun, which is we'll choose maybe a task analysis, right? A task analysis is pretty much a visual that really breaks things down step by step. So we'll take advantage of this language feature and we'll say, I'm looking to get this in English and Korean. And I'll say steps to brush teeth, right? Or I'll just say brushing teeth. 3 steps in English and Korean to brush teeth. We ask Glint for this, and within a couple of seconds, Glint will create our task analysis ready for us. So you can very clearly see how this is all to that idea of independence and autonomy. Again, the voice output comes equipped with each thing. And it's so great. I'm going to just share the QR code really quickly so everyone can have access to that and hear the Korean for themselves. So like I said, being able to bring these languages to the broader populace and have this voice output equipped within telehealth, within teletherapy, is just a complete game changer. It dramatically changes the interactiveness that you have on any of your sessions. And the fact of the matter, and what we built Glint for, was we want anyone, regardless of experience, to become a visual superhero. You should be able to make all of these visuals on your own, because the more visuals, the better we can help with our outcomes, either daily acts of living or speech pathology or education in general. So with that, I feel like that's a pretty good breakdown of Glint and kind of how this all manifests with Coviu. So yeah.
It's such a cool tool. I have never been on the other side of it. And I think like when I was chatting to Jen about it the other day, she was saying like the speed at which you can set this up literally means if you're in a session and the child is having a birthday party this weekend and it is, I think she was using the example of like she created a Shrek themed board or something because it was on theme for the party, and being able to then share that with the friends and family as well through what you just demonstrated. Super, super powerful. And I think you also touched on something in there that I thought was interesting, like with virtual therapy, for many customers, like clients at the other end, it is seen as second best to in person. I think there are circumstances in which that is not true, but that is certainly the perception. And I think looking at ways you can bridge the gap as an organization is going to allow you to continue to further expand your virtual services. So having a tool like this seamlessly integrated in a way that's as sort of easy as you've just shown is super powerful. So thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, totally.
We might just quickly jump into sort of the next steps and pricing and then throw to questions, which I can see Pat has just asked one. But to touch really quickly on how you can go about adding Glint to your subscription to Coviu if you are already a customer. The subscriptions, super affordable in my opinion. I know that's always relative, but starting at US $17 per month per provider. So if you're not familiar with Coviu, our subscription models are per provider as well. We have a couple of different plans based on what sort of organization you are, but essentially it's a matter of just contacting us and getting it set up. And Dylan's done a great job at really making sure people are onboarded beautifully and have a really good understanding of how to use Glint in and outside of Coviu as part of that subscription. So what we'll do is actually just send a follow-up email with everyone with some easy links. But if you're interested in a demo of Coviu, we'll pop a link there so you can talk to us. If you're interested in a demo of Glint, you can click the link to set something up with Dylan. And I think we do have a couple of questions probably about the Australia-US thing because we have customers from both sides of the world on this webinar. But at the moment, Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are catering for all over, pricing's just in US dollars.
Yep, we're global as well.
Cool. Okay. So that, short and sweet, love it. Questions, please do filter them through. I can see we have a couple in here. Pat Dowse is asking, is ASL available?
Yeah, it's a great question. Hey, Pat, how are you? Great to see you. I feel like we got to catch up, by the way. But really good question. I know why Pat's asking. What we do include within Glint is we have symbols for ASL specifically. So if you're looking up specific words, you can have a symbol catered to that.
Awesome. It looks like we have another. That is a duplicate of Pat's question. Awesome. Any other questions from anyone online? Hopefully this means we've done a good job at explaining ourselves, Dylan.
The best job.
Dylan and I were just chatting before where both our organizations and the two of us are going to be at ASHA. So for those of you that are in the States and heading along, we hope to see you there. Definitely ask us more questions in person. Diane has asked, are we sending participants a recording of the webinar? Yes, we absolutely will. We'll send that out in the follow-up email as well. And a question for you, Dylan, do you have examples for young adults and adults?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So I think one of the features I may have glossed over was kind of the interoperability of how you can edit. So while we are based on a symbol set, one of the most used features is the ability to kind of pull and utilize a lot of those alternative images. So typically how that works is uploading your own images of like favorite snacks of family members. All that is secure and private to your account. And then secondly, just being able to pull in all those realistic looking photos from Google and other locations. So when we think about use with young adults and older adults, that's typically the best way we see this.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we might give it another minute, but I think also if you don't have any questions, feel free to start dropping off, and we really appreciate your time today. Like I said, we'll send an email with a link to the recording and a couple of those links to book in demos or explore either product or both of them together in a little bit more detail. But yeah, we're really proud to be presenting this integration. We're always looking at opportunities of improving teletherapy tools on the Coviu side. And Dylan, I know that you are just super passionate and exciting about making all these visuals as accessible as possible. So thanks for joining today and sharing with the community.
Yeah, thanks so much for setting this up. I'm really happy we got to do this.
Yeah. Okay, well, we might end it there. Looks like the questions have dried up. Have a good evening or day, wherever you are.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.